The moment you stop explaining yourself, everything changes. Too much in life, and particularly in the West, in the UK, the Anglosphere, America, whatever, we tend to feel this requirement to explain ourselves, okay? And actually, there's a lot of power to be found in not explaining yourself, okay? There's a lot of power to be derived from not giving the game away, okay? And yes, we'll bring this into the dating context, but as always, this applies in all areas of life, okay? We tend to feel like we owe people an explanation all the time. Why do you feel like that? Why do you vote for that particular party, okay? Why don't you believe these particular political views, right? Why are you wearing that pink scarf, okay? Why are you wearing a coat that color? Why aren't you wearing a blue coat? Why do you do this? Why do you do that, okay? We always feel this sort of imperative to explain ourselves. And actually, it's much more powerful not to explain yourself, to avoid explaining yourself as much as you can, okay? Now, where this gets difficult is when you are stuck in some kind of hierarchy with a bunch of other people around you, and they feel as though they've got some right to some kind of additional insight into your life. So typically this could be something like working in a corporate office, okay, where you've got a bunch of people who you're sort of supposedly like, they're your colleagues and you're kind of friends with some of them, but you're not really friends. You're only friends because you're there because of the job. And it's in those weird quasi friendship type group settings that people will feel like they have a right to knowing everything about you and to knowing why you conduct yourself the way you do, why you do what you do, etc., etc. Why aren't you married yet? Why are you married? Why did you marry her? Why did you not marry her? You know, all of this stuff. And the truth of the matter is, it's none of their damn business, okay? It's none of their damn business. And you want to find a way to be polite, for sure, but step back from actually having to fully explain yourself about anything as much as you can, and that can be difficult. So there's that situation. Another situation, of course, is the dating situation, okay? So you meet somebody, maybe for the first time or the second time. I'm talking about early dating here. I'm not talking about later on when you're in a relationship or, you know, getting together into a relationship or anything like that. In those early stages, obviously, the person is going to want to find out about you. Obviously, she's going to want to find out information about you. And so she will ask you questions, okay? But what you've got to consider here, and I'm not talking about lying by omission, but what you've got to consider here is that actually, this person is a stranger, effectively. This may or may not go somewhere. We don't know yet. And you don't owe anybody complete insight into you and your life and your motivations and everything else, okay? And actually, if you're too upfront about everything, if you explain everything just off the bat, ironically, it doesn't benefit you because it robs you of any mystery that you might otherwise have had, okay? Because she already knows the score. Okay, there's nothing for her to chase. There's nothing for her to feel compelled by because you've already given the game away. You've already told her that you want to be married in the next 5 years and you want to have 3 kids, okay? It's out on the table. Where's she getting her sense of chase from? Where's she getting the thrill of the hunt from with that? She already knows that she just has to say the word and you're locked down. You know, there's no mystique there. There's no like, oh God, you know, how do I snare this one? How do I convince this one to hang around? There's none of that because you've already put your arms out to get the cuffs on them. You've already said, this is the route that I want to take, okay? So I would recommend just pulling back a little bit and not feeling like you have to explain yourself in any scenario to people that don't know you very well and may not ever know you very well, okay? You have a right to maintain an air of detachment around that stuff, okay? You've absolutely got the right to do that. The other thing as well, just on a more general note, is don't feel that you have to answer people's questions. Don't feel that you have to answer every question that people ask you literally, okay? You really don't. And particularly not with women, particularly not in a dating scenario. She's going to ask a lot of questions, either face to face when you guys are on a date or over message later or whatever. She's going to ask questions. And we often help guys with their texting, you know, so they're texting, they're DMing, messaging, whatever, women that they've come into contact with. And the women will ask questions about different things. And the guys will come back agonizing, going, oh, how do I answer this one? How do I do, what do I do here? And it's sort of like, well, you don't really have to do anything. You know, if she asks you, I don't know, say you had a job as a lawyer for a good firm, but you were unhappy there. So you decided to take a sabbatical for 3 months, and you're actually thinking of getting back into something else. You're thinking of getting into photography, which is the thing that you actually really love, and leaving law behind because it's boring and because you're not feeling fulfilled, okay? She finds out, or you tell her, that you've given up a job at this law firm, and she messages you and she's like, so why did you do that? Why did you do that, you know? And then you're sitting there thinking like, oh God, what do I say? Because I don't want her to think I'm not ambitious, but at the same time, you know, I want to be honest because I've been told that, you know, you should be authentic, but at the same time, I don't want her to think I'm a loser or I'm stupid for doing this. It's like, look, you don't have to tell her anything, you know? You can make a joke about it. She asks you why you left the law firm, you just said, yeah, well, I just kind of felt like it. You know, well, it was happy hour, so I decided to leave before happy hour. You know, you can make a stupid joke about it. You don't have to answer everything literally, okay? And batting things off and being a bit non-committal and not necessarily giving the full story, as I say, is actually to your benefit anyway, because it's going to make you more interesting, okay? Because there are more questions to be answered. When you're somebody about whom there are no questions to be answered, okay, that's a pretty boring place to be. It's a pretty boring place to be. I mean, again, think about the movies, right? Think about films, think about TV shows. You know, there are characters that you can't quite figure out, and the whole process of watching the movie, the whole process of getting into that story is trying to figure that character out. I mean, Mad Men, great series, right? Well, there was 9 seasons of that, and all the way through, the character of Don Draper was somewhat inscrutable, right? We were trying to work him out. You know, okay, I think I get this guy, but what really makes him tick? Or how's he going to respond? Oh, you know. Again, if he'd have been a completely open book from the beginning, if at the beginning he'd have just been like, yep, well, you know, I'm a pretty down home kind of guy, you know, yeah, simple want, simple need, happy life, happy wife, or whatever, then that show would never have got off the ground because it wouldn't have been compelling. There would have been no mystery there, okay? And as we know with Mad Men, if anyone's watched it, you know, actually, of course, there was Don Draper's past and the reality of how he became Don Draper and his feelings around that, but that unfolds very slowly throughout the 9 seasons. And the ramifications of it continue all the way through until the final episode. All right? So just think about that. Think about what with entertainment, what makes entertainment work, what makes entertainment tick. Well, it's not giving the game away on episode 1, okay? So I would encourage you just to recognize, you know, you don't need to explain everything. You don't need to bare your soul to people just because they ask you certain questions, okay? You're quite within your rights to withhold information, particularly the early stages of a relationship with somebody. And you're quite within your rights to back questions off and to just make a joke of it, right? Just make fun with it, okay? More will be revealed, you know? If she hangs around for long enough, she'll get to know you. You will let her in more. You will confide. You will reveal your innermost self. but it's going to take time and it's going to take investment from her, okay? Anyway, hope you like this one. Let me know what you think. Drop me a comment below. Subscribe to the channels, and if you are interested in coaching, drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye bye.